call the meeting to order. Today is Monday, December 8th, and this is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Paris City Council. We'll start with the invocation by Ms. Patricia Mullins and the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Jenkins. If you'll all please stand.
Lord, we ask you, Lord, to bless this city meeting tonight. Lord, you see the leaders that are here. Lord, I ask you, Lord, to help them to make good decisions. Lord, give them godly wisdom, Lord, to make decisions that will help the city. And Lord, I ask your blessing upon this city and on this season, Lord, that we're experiencing right now. And we'll give you the praise and the glory for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With that, we'll move on to item number 4, the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit the presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Open Meetings Act prohibits the council from responding to any comments other than to refer the matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city, council members, or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for the Citizens Forum. And with that, anyone wishing to speak, please come forward, sign your name, and state your name and address.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present another present, I think, to the city of Paris. And thank you for councilmen and city staff for allowing me to make this presentation. Susan and I would like to present the city with another $100,000 toward restoration of the historical Lake Crook Park. Selling the city's parks is just not a good thing to do. I think everyone has traveled on a trip and found out you were on the wrong road. When you discover that, the best thing to do is to turn around and go back. And that's somewhat analogous, I think, to where we are with the Lake Crook project. All of us want to do what is best for the city and the citizens of Paris. Enclosed is a check for $100,000 for the fund to restore Lake Crook to its original historic intended use as an asset for the people of Paris. Use of these funds is contingent upon the city of Paris, the city council rescinding the ordinance number 2013-040, item number 9, of the Paris City Council meeting of December 2nd, 2013, and rescinding ordinance number 2013-045, item number 16 of the December 16th, 2013 council meeting. These ordinances define how Lake Crook is to be sold and used for commercial and residential development. Friends of Lake Crook have a citizens group and bylaws in progress to move forward with the restoration of Lake Crook Park. Friends of Lake Crook will be in charge of funds raised by the organization and wants to develop a plan and terms to work with the Parks Department of the
Dr.
City
Swint,
of Paris.
Dr. Swint, I appreciate that, and I certainly don't mean to cut you off, but unfortunately, the 2 minutes are kind of the hard and fast rule.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Susan Swint with the same address. I think that all of us, councilmen, citizens, and everything, wants what's best for Paris. And we appreciate the support we have seen from citizens who want to work on this And we look forward to the city council making this something we can all get together and get behind. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Mary Ann Campbell, Paris, Texas. I am Mary Ann Campbell, 2552 Clark Lane, Paris, Texas. I am sole proprietor of Mary Ann Storage, 407 First Southwest, Paris, Texas. My problem was a chicken house located next to my driveway to my business, entering and exiting on Sherman Street. Also, a rotten limb pile left over from the ice storm last year. Now I get it. Mr. Irwin, my neighbor, thinks that this narrow strip of land belongs to him. When I said it was unsightly and not his property and needed to be moved, Mr. Irwin took offense. In actuality, this narrow strip belongs to the city of Paris. I know because my property description in the deed refers to this alleyway belonging to the city of Paris. Therefore, this strip does not belong to Mr. Jed Irwin. I do resent the fact that Mr. Irwin took offense to me because I state the truth and now request he either put up a 6-foot privacy fence around his chicken facility to handle the noise and smell, or move this to a new location. The chicken facility lacks the required 50-foot designation required in the city code, which I have a copy here given to me by Mr. Joey Sleeper. The limbs, an actual fire hazard and varmint attractor, is directly in the way of a drain for water flow off his building's roof. This limb pile is also only 18 feet from an empty wooden structure belonging to neighbor serving in the U.S. military, so he's not there. Another business, Lone Star Bail Bonds, is only 33.5 feet from this unsightly, rotten limb pile. It is my request to the city to have them encourage Mr. Irwin.
Ms. Campbell, I apologize, but you're 2 minutes short. Thank you so much. And Mr. Godwin, will you double check on these issues, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Sure.
I'm Louise Mosley. I'm passing out these papers.
Ms. Mosley, yeah, thank you.
I'm Louise Mosley. I'm passing out these papers so you can see the reference to the changing of the Citizens Forum. It has been changed without the permission of the council. I would like for this to be on the agenda next council meeting so it can be addressed. Our men and women have died for the opportunity for us to speak freely without being interrupted. And I feel it's my place to bring it to everybody's attention, since it was me that was interrupted over and over and over again and was asked to stop talking. Next, I would like to address the PEDC, and everything I'm about to say is in my opinion. There are 3 men on this PEDC, Steve Grubbs, John Brockman, Don Wilson, that voted to stop the investigation of Diffenbaugh report. These 3 men are all receiving abatements from the PEDC, which is a conflict of interest. I attend the PEDC meetings, and all Don Wilson is talking about is the FBI reports. He wants to hold funds from Diffenbaugh. He is obsessed with the idea of what the FBI has. And I wondered, I was the one that protested that he should not be on the PEDC. Now I know his purpose for wanting to be on the PEDC board, and is to find out what the FBI has. The PEDC has been a legal way of stealing the taxpayers' money. This is worse than Watergate. Matt Frierson, Edwin Pickle, Dr. Grossnickel, and Steve Grubbs praise Steve Gilbert. And it is in the Diffenbaugh report that it should be a criminal offense. Rebecca Clifford is a hero for bringing up the abuse of funds in the PEDC, and all I have heard since I've been here for 8 months watching this council is for her to be abused verbally over and over again. The PEDC should be done away with it, and the money should be used in other beneficial ways.
Ms. Mosley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ray Banks. I live at 3450 Robin Road, Paris, Texas. I'm coming tonight because of 3 items that are on the agenda. One of them I will wait until the public hearing is called for. The other 2 is item number 24, which is the stormwater utility district that's being proposed to be discussed. If it's anything like what the city manager did excuse me, in his previous job, he said he charged $5.75 per household, but it would be way lower than that here. I say that even if it's $1 a month per household, that's unfair, because the people who live in the hills have just as much wastewater runoff or more than what some little lady who lives in a little 2-story or little 2-bedroom frame house with maybe a carport. And she's going to be charged the same amount as what those people that live in the $300,000 to $400,000 houses are paying. I think this is a tax. I don't care what you call it. It's a tax. If we needed this money for this storm utility district, why did we lower the property taxes? They should have been raised enough to accommodate this, so that the people who are more affluent could pay more on this. The next thing is item 25, is talking about selling certificates of obligation with no citizens vote, possibly. That's fine if we want to do it. But regardless of whether we do it as a certificate of obligation or whether we do it as a certificate of general pass a bond election by the citizens, we need to keep this transparent so that the citizens know exactly what streets are going to be refurbished, exactly what parks are going to be done and what's going to be done to them, and what drainage repairs and constructions are going to be made. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Banks.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Larry Shank. I reside at 3765 Dawn Drive here in Paris. First, I need to clear for the record, in deference to the wonderful action of Dr. Swinton and his wife, I'm not here to offer the city a $100,000 gift. However, I would like to be able to discuss in greater detail and have some questions with regard to agenda item 22. And I am advised that if the council would honor my request, I can defer on those questions until that matter is raised. And if so, I'll do so at that time. That's the crossover issue.
Any problem with that? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jed Irwin. I reside at 442 South Main. I'm the alleged owner of the chicken coop behind Marianne Campbell's property. I'm just going on record to say that I have moved the chicken coop from when she requested it. I've contacted 6 different surveyors to try to get someone to come out to survey the land, to put up a privacy fence where it belongs, and that I've checked with the city every step of the way when I installed the chicken coop where I put it, and as far as I was concerned, I was in the right. And if the city digs into it and finds something where I am not, I'd be glad to know, and we'll talk then, but just informing.
Thank you, Mr. Irwin. Appreciate that.
My name is Laura Poy. I live at 508 South Main, directly across. I'm the closest neighbor. The chicken coops are no problem for me at all, and I am the closest person to them. He's kept it well maintained. This young couple has come in, taken this eyesore, worked on it, made this whole neighborhood a better place, as has she. And there's just no reason it's not hurting anyone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? If not, we'll close the citizens forum, move on to the consent. Sorry, somebody's off stage. Oh, boy. That is not.
For those of you that don't know, yesterday was Mayor Fryerson 40th birthday.
Jeez.
Some of y'all can remember back that far, some of you maybe not.
You're on the clock, by the way.
Yeah, so I got 2 minutes. I can
Yeah, I may hit the gas on this one.
So anyway, I would sing to you, but no, I won't.
Thank you.
So I could sing to Aggie or him, but
Turn
happy
your phone.
40th birthday yesterday.
Thank you, Edwin. Appreciate that. Thank you. For those of you that don't know, I just crave attention, so this is just wonderful. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. So, yeah, I know. Thanks, man. You didn't do that for me either. So, there we go. And put that out of the way. Assuming I don't drop it. Yep. You don't want to do that. Yes.
You afraid somebody's going to put that in your face?
Among the many things people ask to do, that might be at the top of the list. So, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, with that, we'll close the citizens forum and move on to the consent agenda. Does any one on the council have anything they would like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion by Dr. Hashmi. Is there a second on this?
Second.
I think actually Ms. Lancaster was first, second by Ms. Lancaster. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the regular agenda, item 17, Janice.
Discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance considering the petition of Steve Matney for a change in zoning from a single-family dwelling district number 3 to a commercial district on lots 1 through 4, City Block A of the East Park Addition, located in the 900 block of Clement.
Mr. Effersey.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. The zoning change was generated by the owner of the property, Mr. Steve Matney. Request a zoning change from one family dwelling district, SF3, to commercial use. His proposed land use is for a wholesale heating, ventilation, and conditioning supply company. There'll be no manufacturing on site, and he intends to sell his products to licensed contractors at wholesale, who in turn will use it for other developments. The future land use plan recommends this property for commercial use, so this supply company is compatible with the future comprehensive plan. In fact, the future land use plan map shows commercial north, south, east, northwest of this, and PLI to the east. But the PLI right now is zoned commercial. So this is highly compatible. Staff recommends approval of this zoning request, and the Planning and Zoning Commission last week unanimously approved this zoning for your consideration. Be pleased to answer any questions you might have.
Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Effersey at this point before we open the public hearing? Or No, not at
Thank
this time. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, sir.
At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for this ordinance, please come forward and, okay. Anyone wishing to speak against this proposed ordinance? If not, then we'll close the public hearing and move on. Any further discussion from the council?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Dr. Hashmi. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Lancaster. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 18. Janice.
Discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance establishing a reinvestment zone for the Paris Lakes project property described as a tract of 40 acres of land within the corporate limits of the city of Paris, part of the Joseph Leach Survey, abstract number 524, and being a part of the property conveyed to the Theodora McLemore Family Partnership 2 Ltd. by deed dated May the 2nd, 2002, of record in book 1192, page 240, Lamar County Real Property Records.
Okay. And at this time, Mr. McKillier, if you want to kind of walk us through the paces here on this and before we open the public hearing.
Mayor and City Council, this is an ordinance proposing a reinvestment zone on 40 acres of land on the southeast loop, roughly across the loop from the Paris High School, and the new Paris High School. And a public hearing is required, and also notice to all other local taxing entities. We've done that. We've published the notice. We published the public hearing notice. It's now for you all to consider whether or not to grant a reinvestment zone. And essentially what a reinvestment zone is it's an area that a city council establishes and defines by a boundary and says we want to encourage development, or we want to encourage new development, either because, and there's a whole list of reasons, and it's all set out under state law. We really don't have anything under city ordinance or city policy that talks about reinvestment zones. A reinvestment zone is different than an enterprise zone, which is set out under Chapter 2303 of the Government Code. Some of the other tax abatements that have been done in Paris over the last 7 years have been located in areas that were enterprise zones. Things like Kimberly Clark, Skinner Bakery, Campbell's Soup, those are all located in areas defined by the federal census, the 10-year federal census, as low-income areas that are eligible for enterprise zone designation. This particular area on the southeast loop does not fall within that criteria, so it's not an enterprise zone. This is why the only other way to consider doing a tax abatement in that area is by giving it reinvestment zone designation. I can go through the elements of the statute if you'd like. Essentially what it is, I mean, it's the state gives cities, and cities all over the state do this every week. They create new reinvestment zones. It's usually associated with a tax abatement that they're going to give to a new industry or a new business coming to town to help incentivize that. It's the first step. We do not have the tax abatement for Paris Lakes anywhere on your agenda tonight. That's not being considered. This would only be a designation of a reinvestment zone under 312-202 of the Texas Tax Code.
Okay. Thank you. Ken, any initial questions from the council?
Do you have a picture of where this is located? You mentioned the high school, and are you talking about where they've been clearing on the opposite?
Yes, across the loop from there, adjacent to 905, it's FM 905.
Okay. Yeah. So it's that track.
That's what I was going to ask. When you create this zone, does it encompass a big area, or are you certain area, just a certain spot?
This area is proposed for 40 acres, so it is the area that was purchased by Paris Lake recently. They closed on the land from, I believe, Dr. Ted McLemore and his family trust. So it's a 40-acre designation, no larger, no smaller. It's just 40 acres.
I have a bunch of questions, but I think I'll wait after the
public hearing. Okay. Anyone else want to go now or wait until after the public hearing? If not, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for this item, please come forward and state your name. If not, anyone wishing to speak against this item?
Again, my name is Ray Banks. I live at 3450 Robin Road. I am neither opposed or in favor of this. I was just trying to find the right time to come forward. I was under the impression that this was going to be determined under Section 311 of the tax code, which would have meant that the owner of the property would have approached the city requesting this designation. But I found out in reading the Parish News that, and also in the city attorney's statement tonight, that it's being done under 312 of the tax code. Well, it's my understanding that under 312 of the tax code, that is to be done when the city themselves initiate this action. Now, if it's initiated by the landowner or the developer, that should be under 311, is my understanding. I may be wrong, but I think that's something we need to look into before we go and start this. Because under Section 311, there needs to be a petition filed by the landowner or the developer. Last Monday, I requested under open record request a copy of that petition. I found out there was no petition filed. So therefore, the city would have had to do it on their own, or someone verbally came to the city and got them to do it without a petition. I think this is something we need to look into before we move forward on this, because also it says under 311, before adopting an ordinance designated a reinvestment zone, the governing body must prepare a preliminary reinvestment zone financing plan. What we're going to be spending out there on that. This I don't think has been done yet. And I think this is other things that need to be looked into. Also, we have not heard what the total benefits to the landowner or the developer will be under this reinvestment zone. What is the citizens of Paris going to be required to give up in order for this to be accomplished? Also, if the landowner or the developer did not approach the city, then why was this particular 40 acres chosen? Why not include 200 acres or 300 acres out there? That all falls under raw land, which we would like to have developed. So why did we choose this select 40 acres? Thank you very much.
Okay. If you'd like to, please go right ahead.
First of all, City Council, Chapter 311 deals with tax increment financing. That's a whole different animal altogether. I don't even think Paris has ever done a tax increment financing district. It's more popular in the urban areas, in suburbs of large urban areas. We haven't done one here yet. We could do one, but this is 312. This is a reinvestment zone for tax abatements. It has nothing to do with 311. So that clears up that question. And I believe that this was brought forward to the City Council agenda through the Tax Abatement Committee, who received a presentation from the Paris Lakes folks for a request for a tax abatement in the future. And you can't have a tax abatement in that area without a reinvestment zone. So that's why it was placed on the City Council agenda for your review and consideration.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in the public hearing? If not, we'll close the public hearing at this time and start with discussion from the council. Dr. Hashmi, you mentioned that you had several questions.
Yeah, some of the questions are actually what Mr. Banks is asking. And again, I'm not an attorney and I'm not going to dispute with the city attorney on what he's saying between 311 and 312. But I read both 311 and 312 when I saw that. And 311 describes not just that, 311 also describes of what are the proper ways of instituting a reinvestment zone. So it doesn't just describe the financing part that Mr. McKellier is saying, but it does describe how to set up a reinvestment zone by cities. So I wrote a few questions and a few things that, again, it's not a question of favoring or not favoring, but I'd like to say a few things. First of all, we are a policy-making authority and we should not be involved in individual deals, but rather make a policy that is followed citywide, so that in future, when such a project comes, we are using the same scale for everyone and that no resident is able to question our judgment or integrity on such an approval. In other words, a policy should be made rather than an approval for an individual property. So what I'm trying to say is, if we are going to do any such thing, whether it's for Paris Lake or tomorrow some other lakes or third lake comes through, whether it's a hospital or whatever kind of investment comes to town, I think it should be based on a specific policy rather than granting individual 40 acres and reinvestment zones. We, as a policy-making authority, should institute a policy just like what we did when we talked about tax abatements for dilapidated homes, etc., that the policy is in place and it is a citywide policy. Whoever wants to apply qualifies for it based on whatever the city lays down as the ground rules, and whoever falls into those ground rules gets approved or disapproved based on what is there. The second thing that I'd like to say is that the requirements as listed under 311 and 312, and 311 I'm just mentioning because I had read it, the Texas Act requires and puts forth what is acceptable areas for development of reinvestment zones. These are available for all of us to read, and I really think that all of us should read 311 and 312 very carefully before giving directions to city staff on what should be done as far as development of such a zone, because there are certain strict criteria laid down by the state. Number 3 is that the policy should include clearly demarcated maps of what is to be developed, where it is to be developed, and what the economic outcome is to be expected with a feasibility study, which is also one of the state law requirements under 312, I think it's 0.00C or 5, that you've got to have a feasibility study in a reinvestment zone to show that what is the economic outcome. The fourth thing that I'd like to say, that whoever brings it, whether it's Paris Lake or somebody else tomorrow, needs to be completely pinned down and penned down on what provisions are requested, so that in future when those requests are carried through, that they can be followed through and seen that what was promised is done or not done. Number 5 is recapture of the property tax in areas if it fails to produce the jobs or does not attain a value agreed upon in the agreement. And this is again under 312, it has been laid down by the state of Texas, and that should be clearly written down in any kind of agreements. And then my last question was, I think has been answered, and that was that I wanted to find out whether it was brought by the city itself or was it brought by, because if it's brought by the city itself, then I really think that we should make a citywide policy on this matter. And if the council wants to do it, I have no objections to doing it, but I don't think it should apply to one individual property of 40 acres. It should be a citywide policy, whether you invest in south, north, east, west, which is what we had done in the past whenever we were trying to give tax abatements. That's what we should do, so that in future we are spared the agony of individuals coming. We have a policy in place and the policy is followed through. Whether the policy is to give or not to give is for the council to decide. So that's what I'd like to say. I have no objections, but I think I have an objection to approval of or giving direction on one property. It should be a citywide thing.
Any other discussion from the council?
I have a couple questions.
Edwin?
This is a reinvestment zone which makes it eligible for tax abatements, but this by no means approves any tax abatements
That's
at
correct.
this time.
Yes.
If
That's up to the tax abatement group as a whole, right, John?
Yeah. Now, if
Well, we'll write the microphone.
with this reinvestment zone, is this designated for? And this is going to sort of go back to your comments. Is this going to be designated for Paris Lakes? And by that I mean, let's say that it sells tomorrow to Twin Lakes or something, anybody that's under a different entity. Does that reinvestment zone go with the property, or does that go with the borrower or the owner? I'm sorry.
It would go with the property. The property description for the 40 acres will be described as an exhibit to the ordinance. So If the name changes, it doesn't kill the reinvestment zone.
Okay.
It's identified by the legal description.
Okay. Okay. My next question are we getting the chicken before the egg or the egg before the chicken on this, in that we're approving a reinvestment zone, but we don't really know what we're approving yet? Is this the right order?
Okay.
I don't know.
That's a reasonable question because many cities bring them both together. They'll bring a reinvestment zone ordinance on the same night that they bring the tax abatement. That's not uncommon. It just, in Paris, the last 6 or 7 tax abatement agreements we've done have all been located in enterprise zones, so we didn't have to do a reinvestment zone ordinance. But no, it's not out of order. The reinvestment zone is first, and then one tax abatement, or if there's more than one tax abatement, those come later.
Okay, I guess it's still should we not know what we're creating a reinvestment zone for? I mean, should it already be platted? I mean, that's the other thing. Do we need to have plats and zoning approvals and all that before we do this?
Can I say one thing? Actually, that is part of 312. You're required to do that. Without that, you cannot create a reinvestment zone. It has to be platted. That, I mean, again, this is my reading, a non-legal person reading 312, but I've read it from top to bottom, and that's what I think. But again, I may be wrong on it. The attorney knows better.
I don't believe that you have to have platting and zoning done first. It just creates this broad reinvestment zone, like a dome over the 40 acres, and says if the city wants to grant tax abatements here in the future, they can, because we've identified this 40-acre area as a potential reinvestment zone, and that term's good for 5 years with as many 5-year renewals as you need or want to renew it.
As the council needs.
As the council
So it's only a
decides.
5-year zone.
It's a 5-year zone.
I mean, initially.
Right? Initially, but it states in the statute you can renew it for as many 5 years as you need to. A tax abatement you can't do for more than 10 years. Y'all know that. It's a maximum. So essentially, if you were to do a 10-year tax abatement, you'd have to amend or update the reinvestment zone 5 years from when you first created it for this situation. That'd just be something we'd have to calendar and make sure we did in 5 years.
Okay, okay, but I'm gonna just sort of follow up with, yes, I agree, but I think that this is that going forward, we need to maybe look at setting some sort of a policy so that we can have a criteria to work from. But I don't want to get this one bogged down in it because we haven't established a policy up to now. Does that make sense? How do they do that in other cities, Mr. Godwin?
Well, of course, anytime, going back to Dr. Oshby's comments, that you have a policy in place, it's a good thing because you're more likely to be uniform in how you treat people. You don't, overreact or with emotion or because somebody's big or rich or poor or small or mean or whatever, and so, that's pretty common. As you both of you were talking, I was trying to, in my mind, envision how such a policy would work because I thought I might be tasked with writing it. The biggest thing would be that they're eligible. But there is a policy that was written and revised sometime earlier this year for tax abatement, so it would probably be similar to that. It would have to be, in fact, similar to that. It might replicate some of that. In fact, I'm just kind of rambling here. I know. I'm sorry. I apologize. But yeah, that's bureaucracies tend to have policies for everything in the world. So as far as how other people do it, a lot of people would have something like that in place. Again, for consistency's sake. Consistency is always important for a governmental agency. So that's something we could do. We could bring something back to you for the January 12th council meeting, I think, because it wouldn't be long or complicated, but we could bring that back at the next meeting.
Okay. And
not that I'm volunteering to do it. But.
Well, I took that as an Army volunteering. We
can steal one from somebody if need be. So.
Because I think that would be a good idea, but I don't. If we're not approving the abatements tonight anyway, all we're doing is establishing a zone and making sure that
that we are moving forward so that we've got something to work with, not just in January, but for future councils. Does that make sense?
Most of the time I don't agree with you, but sometimes I do.
I know.
But
Is this one of those cases, or are you two in agreement?
Kind of, maybe.
I just want to clarify that's where we are.
I think that we should create a policy. I don't think it should be a tremendous hard work to bring about a policy. We actually have something similar in place. But I think for consistency, if it can be done rapidly, I mean, this project has gone on for a while, another couple of weeks, and particularly when you're not even approving their tax abatements tonight, what difference will it make if we have a proper policy in place and then pass it, whether it's Paris Lake or some other lakes which come, at least we'll be consistent on it. That's just my opinion, but again, if the council wants to proceed with it, they can proceed with it, but I think in general it is a better idea to have a little organized thing rather than, particularly if it's not going to take years to make the policy. If it's a quick thing, we should.
Will it stymie their development?
No, the January 12th meeting is when we expect to bring the tax abatement back to you anyway, so we can do it the same night, but do that one obviously in advance of any action on this particular property.
Isn't that bringing the cart before the horse when you haven't got a plat or a zoning change?
Well, the state law does require that there's a plat before a tax abatement's approved. Isn't that correct, City Attorney? Okay. We'll have it all in order. That's still a really fluid process. We've gotten some information from the developer. The other information we have not gotten. We've had several meetings over the last several weeks. Of course, had a groundbreaking out there recently, and they're hoping to. They're very ambitious with their schedule, and they hope to start construction really soon. But there's some things with platting and zoning both that have to be done before they can do that. So, if it like I said, that's our target is the January 12th meeting. If it doesn't happen until the 26th or until February, then that's when it'll happen. But we'll have the correct order on all those parts of it.
At this point, would anybody mind? Mr. Parker's here. If he chooses to, would you like to fill us in on how that may or may not slow down your process? Figure as long as you're here, at least we can do is get your side of it right.
I love to talk to people, so that's the way it works. It won't necessarily delay anything if you want to get a policy in place. Up to this point, we have abided by the rules that we did. We made sure that we were qualified, the amount of money that we spend, the qualifications for being an abatement project, the number of jobs. Basically, we didn't use the number of jobs because we're over $100 million, which is what you require. Working with Kent, we worked very diligently to get everything answered along the city. We've been working on this for like 2 years, though, John. I don't mean to back you up there, but trying to get it all in line so we have everything. We had to close on the land prior to getting going to change the zoning, so we made that maneuver, and we spent the money and got that done. And we've got Alan, Mike Mosier, and Alan are working together now on the plan development zone. We are going down the path that your letter that you gave me as far as the criteria. We're going down that path. We started working with the PDC. We met with the abatement board. So we're doing everything exactly as we're told to do, and we'll make, if this is the way the city wants to do, we're here to support. As far as cost to the city to date, we're spending money, we're offering money back to the city to assist us. We're not asking for other things, In fact, we're assisting in the sewer problem that was discussed earlier. We're trying to help put several $100,000 back into that deal for them. Just so that our impact won't impact the city even more. So we're paying our impact fees. We have a grant from the PDC, as everybody knows, to move the sewer across the line. We are giving that back to the city. We're going to take the grant, but we're going to give it to the city to fix that sewer, to help with the sewer problem down on the North Main where it's too small. We discovered through some studies. So there's a lot of things we're trying to do to help you. I don't think it's going to really particularly delay anything. But the sooner we get the reinvestment zone done, it just triggers a lot of things. So we're trying to trigger as fast as we can. Right now, all we're doing is grading, clearing, and grubbing, which was okayed through the city, by the way. We're not doing anything vertical of any type. And we can allow the power company to come in with all the temporary power and start the underground work for all 5 buildings. So we'll have pads basically sitting there ready to start doing something on. We want to be ready for that when it happens, because with a project that's 170 million plus, every day costs you a lot of money that you don't move forward. So when we get the infrastructure in, which will be about 3 to 4 months from now, which will be about a month later, earlier than that, we should have our PD. I believe the plan development zoning would be in place, so we could get our permits. There are plats out there. We did give all the surveys up. We had everything surveyed down to participate. So if there's something else that we need to do in order to make that come in more line with what you guys want to make it general for the city, if it's better for the city, it's better for us. Guys, we're here, I started this project a long time ago, and I started it to get, just to help the city and do better here for the city. So we're still going to be standing there being accountable.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Parker while he's here? Just wanted to give him a chance to kind of explain from his side of things. Thank you.
And the civil drawings will be ready on Friday, so I'll be turning those into you guys.
Yeah. Okay.
And the new plat for just the 40 acres will be available too. Okay. We had to readjust when we changed the size.
Okay. Thanks, Ron.
Is this a motion item or is this just a direction item?
Yes, it's an action item as well.
Action item?
Yeah. Well, I guess I just kind of wanted to chime in, and I agree, Dr. Hashmi, that if you can put it down on a piece of paper, much like we did a few other things that have already been mentioned, to remove the individual content from a particular issue, whether it be emotional, financial, or anything along those lines, probably the better off we are long term. But I would have to kind of echo what Edwin said. I don't want to slow anything down because we haven't had that to this point. So I don't know how everybody else feels about this process.
Perhaps a postponement until the next meeting, just to table it, and then let us all read the statutes, chapters, and we all, believe me, want it to happen, and we're all for the project, so we don't want to slow it down too much. But we could consider those who still have questions about it, give them time to read up more on the statutes and make sure we can have John prepare a formal policy on this issue so that we're treating everyone the same.
Well, I guess my question for John and Kent at that point, is the next meeting, that's doable for you guys as far as to have something on paper?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can make a motion to table till the next meeting, or I can make a motion to suggest to come up with a policy.
Okay. Can I ask
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, their attorney, is asked to speak if we're still at that point? I don't know what information.
My name is Phil Smith, and I represent the developer in this project. And we have followed the Economic Development Act throughout this process, and the reinvestment zone application is really the step that we need to accomplish. And I would like for us to accomplish it tonight because we have this sort of set forth in stages. My colleague, Mr. Mosier, has been working with Alan here with regard to the zoning, and we believe that this reinvestment zone is needed to go forward with our zoning application. We are following section 312.201, and it says that at the public hearing, the governing body, which would be the city council, must find that the improvements are feasible and practical, would be of benefit to the land. Now, we made a presentation to the PEDC Tax Abatement Committee last month, where a color brochure with the tax abatement agreement that is proposed And all of the data concerning the improvements to be built was provided to them and to the city attorney. And so in addition to that, it needs to be found that the area satisfies the statutory criteria for designation as a reinvestment zone. And there, the criteria is that the improvements are going to be of significant value to the community, and that employment would be enhanced. And both of those are present. So I don't, even though Mr. Parker said we could go with a deferment here, I think that it could interfere with our zoning. And Alan, you may want to say yay or nay with regard to that if we don't enact the reinvestment zone tonight.
Been working with these gentlemen about this discussion I was not part of. With all due respect, the property could be rezoned without a reinvestment zone. If they feel that that's important to their business plan, that's something that the council needs to consider. But in relationship to zoning, a reinvestment district or a tax incremental finance zone or environmental protection district zone is not necessary prior to a zoning request. And that's generally true across the country.
Okay, thanks, Al.
And as Mr. Godwin mentioned, we plan next week, I mean not next week, but at the next regularly scheduled city council meeting, bringing the tax abatement agreement that we've been working on with the city attorney before the council for approval. And we thought we would have this reinvestment zone enacted tonight because that was the next step as enumerated in the applicable portion of the Texas tax code. So I would request that the council reconsider and enact the reinvestment zone for this 40-acre tract of land tonight. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Kent, with that being said, just going back to what you said initially, the criteria as it's set out is met by this application. Is that correct? I mean, what they're doing fits the criteria, and
under state law, I believe it does. I mean, it's for the council to decide that ultimately.
Right.
But, like I said, I see these things done all the time in other cities, and just based on the state law criteria under 312-202. So,
Mr. Frierson, I have 312 over here. I printed it out. If you would like, I can read it, because this is not exactly what it says. Number two, to his comment, I would like to say, you may have presented it to the PEDC. I certainly did not get anything to show what are the improvements on the land or anything thereof.
Okay, wait, can I interrupt just for 1 second, and I interrupt you just because I wanted to correct Phil. He went before the tax abatement committee, which is not the PEDC. No, it's not of the PEDC. It's not of the PEDC. I wanted to make sure that there's no confusion that PEDC hasn't looked at this yet either. It's the tax abatement committee, which is made up of the county, the city, and the school district. Okay, I'm sorry. Just wanted to clear that out.
all right, Dr. Archmead, going back to your earlier point, you were about to make a motion before Mr. Smith.
I would still stick to my motion that the thing be tabled till the next meeting, but at the next meeting, a proper citywide ordinance be brought about so that we have it clearly in black and white of what we are approving. Because, again, as I said, I may be wrong, but what this reinvestment zone says in 312, which I have written, is very different. I mean, I've copied it from the Texas code. It is very different from what is being described. I'm not sure about it.
Is what I'm hearing from the council, does the council want the property owner to come forward and do their a full presentation of what they intend to do with the land, with the development, to the whole city council, that's fine. If that's what you're wanting, I think you're entitled to ask for that.
Personally, that's not what I'm wanting. Personally, what I'm saying is that I want a citywide policy rather than one issue. Whether if he wants to do a presentation, I'll be glad to listen to the presentation too. But the reinvestment zone should be a citywide policy rather than his 40 acres and my 40 acres and your 40 acres. And so if you can bring about just like you brought about the tax abatement policy for, we were thinking of first doing it in District 1 and 2, then we had a citywide policy, which is what we did.
On the residential side.
Yeah, something of that sort. That's what I'm saying. But again, if they want to come and present to the city council of what they want to do, it's fine too, which way works best.
Well,
but to speed up the process, I felt that if you brought an ordinance, then they don't have to come back and forth to the council. As long as they're following the ordinance, it should go through.
Well, I think that it would still have to come back, even if there is an ordinance, it'd still have to come back to the council.
Right, city council has to pass the ordinance in an open meeting, so we'd have to bring it back.
Be that much different.
Just to make it simple, I'll stick to my motion. Whether it fails or passes, that's my motion.
Yeah. Okay. Ron? Yeah.
One thing that I would like not to be held responsible for something you're thinking about doing in the future. I'm living in today's world, and I abided by every single criteria that the city gave us to the letter. In fact, we went above and beyond the Call of Duty to get verification. Say, now this is what we're thinking. Do we fit? I talked with John. I've talked with Matt. And everyone that we've done everything we've asked from the abatement board, from the city from the mayor, city managers, right on down. So we really need, I made the statement that it may not slow us down, but from an abatement standpoint, we need to have this in place so that we can have everything prepared for you, so that you have everything just exactly right. We have it all prepared, and we gave it to the abatement board. But we are just like everybody else. It is a public area. If my 40 acres, and Dr. Hashmi, if you had 40 acres, you do the same process that I just did, and it comes through the city council just like it just did. And we're abiding by the city policies by doing it the way that Kent set it up. Kent gave us the criteria to do it. We had the meeting with the abatement committee.
Mr. Mayor, can I address him?
Sure.
The city does not have a policy yet.
Well, how did the city direct me to do something? I mean, it may not be policy, but it's the way that it's guidelines, it's written down, it's issued in a book on how you do these things. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I can only tell you the city does not have a reinvestment policy right now. And the other thing that I was saying was that under 312, what I'm reading is different. That's all I'm saying. I'm not opposed for or against. But the thing about it, it's different from what is written in 312. Now, if I don't have access to what Mr. McElliott has, I just need to see it. And if he has it correct, then I have no problem with it.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen when you try to stack them both up in the same meeting, I think is going to create more issues.
Okay. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you for your time.
Sure.
I would like to address Mr. Heikking's remarks that what I said were not correct. We're not correct, I'm sorry. Section 312.202, Mr. Hashmi, says that criteria for a reinvestment zone, 312.202. To be designated as a reinvestment zone, an area must, and it lists, let's see, about six different items, and one of them is number 6. It says, be reasonably likely as a result of the designation to contribute to the retention or expansion of primary employment or to attract major investment in the zone that would be a benefit to the property and that would contribute to the economic development of the municipality. Now, I copied this right out of Chapter 312 of the tax code, and I'll be glad to give you a copy of it if you'd like to see it.
Sure, I would like to see it, because from what I've seen, part of the thing which is written is, number one is substantially arrest or impair the sound growth of municipality, creating the zone, retard the provision of housing accommodations, or constitute an economic or social liability, and be a menace to public health, safety, morals, or welfare in its present condition.
That's
and
one
then
of the-
B, the predominance of defective of inadequate sidewalks or streets. C, I can keep going on. I don't think there's a point in going back and forth.
That's one of 6. Now, what I read to you was number 6. Each of these is of equal value. So if you have any of these 6 items, it qualifies for a reinvestment zone the way I read it. And I'll be glad to ask the city secretary to make a photocopy of this and provide it to you. But we would like to go forward with the
Sir?
reinvestment
Sir?
zone.
Wait,
Sir, sir, sir.
I just want him to clear that up, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Phil. Sir, I apologize. Don't come up here again. If we have to ask you to leave the meeting, that'll be necessary. Mr. Banks, we've already, I think at this point, we're kind of dickering over opinions at this point, and yes, sir.
In my reading on 312, Mr. Smith just read it. It says must, and it doesn't say any of the below, or it doesn't mention number 1 and then say or. It says must, and it lists 6 criteria there. That's what I wanted to point out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, folks, at this point, we really need to get back on task, and while I am a little bit surprised that everybody decided to read Chapter 312 so much and become experts about this, I appreciate everybody taking an interest. Really what we're here to decide at this point is the reinvestment zone as a whole. As Ken explained, the property as a whole. The abatement committee will do their job in determining what levels of abatements and go through the presentation with Ron, but I guess I have to ask the council at this point, we need a resolution on this, on how the council feels about moving forward with the reinvestment zone as it's presented tonight. So if there is a motion to be made, I'll take a motion. If there's any further discussion, let's please keep this civil and appropriate.
I'll make a motion to table the item till the next meeting and have them bring up whatever they need to bring.
I have a motion from Dr. Hashmi to table this item to the next meeting. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Lancaster. Is there any further discussion? I guess the only thing I'd like to add to this is the fact that we encourage people to do business in Paris, and I don't have any problem with making things black and white. This is just a statement, and if Mr. Parker's going down this road of trying to do business in Paris, and he's followed the staff direction at this point, we need to keep that and be mindful of that instead of deciding that, a policy that we can be making at any point in time now comes to pass whenever he's trying to pursue development. So, I don't know if that's much discussion, but I'd like to go ahead and make that. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say, I see their point. I see Dr. Hodge's point, Mr. Pickle's point, and some people out here. But I don't see any harm myself in passing this, because we're going to pass it in here the next meeting. They're going to come with policy. It's going to be passed one way or another. We know this. So I agree with you. I mean, we want development, and I don't think it'll stymie any if we do, but we don't need to give that impression that, myself.
Okay. And I'd like to clarify, when I said that we could postpone it, that was after Mr. Parker had said that he didn't think it would slow him down or harm him. But if there's we at this point in time, they've been working on this for years, and we're getting close, and we sure, I think, should give them the opportunity to proceed at the pace, as fast a pace as they can. Therefore, as Mr. Plata just said, I think that there's not a real harm if it turns out that, just to establish this zone doesn't automatically mean they're going to get a tax abatement. But it's most likely that they would, of course. But This is just step A, kind of like the platting before you can change the zoning or whatever. So I can support going ahead and passing it.
Okay. Any further discussion from the council?
Well, I can see a number of things that doesn't meet the criteria. I've got all the information here, and I've studied it at length, and 6 is the only one that is sort of in favor. The rest of it doesn't meet. So I'm concerned about that, and that's why I would like to have a further look at it.
Well, we're not gonna pass it, give an abatement, we're just passing the investment
Well,
zone.
I'm saying the whole thing in theory needs to be cleared up.
They're gonna come back with a policy our next council meeting, which is gonna be about the same thing, and it's gonna be passed.
I don't know that.
Okay, folks, motion on the floor at this time is to table this item. All those in favor of tabling the item, please say aye and raise your right hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against tabling this item, please raise your right hand. Okay, so motion fails. Is there another motion to be considered at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve the reinvestment zone on this property with the expectation that we'll have a blanket policy next time. But I don't make that part of the motion.
Okay, so your motion is to approve?
This one as presented because
Okay.
we've led them down this path up to this point.
Okay, have a motion from Mr. Pickle. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Opposed.
All right, I didn't get a count on that. Janice, we had
I thought you were for this.
three for the motion to improve the reinvestment zone?
Well, I can't, that's not on here. That can't, can I ask that the policy be put on here as part of this motion?
It will be, whether you do or not. I'll bring you one.
Okay. Well, I was expecting that without having to make that part of the, because of.
Is that clarification?
Okay, I just
So
want
we need to take
clarification.
that, correct?
Yeah, one thing in there.
Okay. Well, we
I don't
expect,
think you can approve a reinvestment zone on a policy you don't have yet. That's
Right,
so you're approving it as is, based on the information you have.
okay, so now we need to make sure we're all on the same page. So there is a motion and a second to approve this item as is. All those in favor, please raise your right hand so we'll get a good count. Aye, okay. Those opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-3. Thank you very much. With that, we move on to item 19. Ms. Ellis.
Discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on an ordinance considering a change in zoning on a certain tract of land generally bordered by Clarksville Street, slightly east of Cobb Ranch Road, slightly west of County Road 13100, and along a line generally extending from FM 2121 on the east to near Cobb Ranch Road on the west, consisting of approximately 238,460 acres, from the agricultural, light industrial, public lands and institution, neighborhood services, and commercial districts to the Coxfield Planned Development Airport Zoning District.
Mr. Effersey.
Thank you. Good evening again. Before I provide my comments, I would like to publicly thank the people in groups that made important contributions to this ordinance. The staff includes John Godwin, Sean Napier, Ken McKillier, Joey Sleeper, Shane Grissom, Justin Oliver, he's no longer employed with us, but he did a very fine job, Ashley Fenley and Deneen Johnson, who did a marvelous job in assisting in formatting and typing this document. Very much appreciated. Also, boards and commissions, Holland Harper, Chairman, and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Jack Ashmore is the Chairman and the Airport Advisory Board. The Subcommittee of the Airport Advisory Board and the Paris Economic Development Commission. Councilmember Sue Lancaster, who was at all of these coordinating meetings and provided comments of direction and orientation, which we appreciate. Jerry Ritchie, Airport Manager, and the citizens who participated in our several discussions. Thanks to all of them. I will make some brief comments. Yes, okay. If this is passed, this will not annex property. Several citizens had asked questions about that. This is not an annexation document or an annexation action, it's a zoning action. This will create a planned development district for areas that are presently in the corporate limits in the city. And plan development requires applicants and developers to submit a site plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council for approval prior to any actual development. Staff knows that, you know that, we just want to get that into the record. The basic purpose of this plan development ordinance is to provide expanded economic development and physical development opportunities in and around the airport, consistent with recognition of the importance of safety to life and property. With respect to how the ordinance is organized, it's organized, as you know, in several components. The first are the goals and objectives in support of safety and life and property and the different purposes associated with the development of airport itself and land uses around it. Part B is an environmental evaluation regarding protection, preservation, and enhancement of environmental elements. In the airport master plan, which the council approved in 2011, there's several sections and comments about environmental protection. There's a section regarding the airport and the city in general in the 2001 comprehensive plan, and Mr. Napier and myself prepared an expanded environmental inventory analysis, which the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended and you approved last year. Part C represents the purposes of each of the 5 zones. While this is one plan development district, it's not unusual for a plan development district to have just one subzone, or 20 or 30, depending on the size. This has 5. And what the purpose indicates is that each one has its own character. So the individual land uses collectively represent the mission, if you will, of each of the 5 zones. And they're, if you will, geographically related to each other so they can support each other as well as the airport function. Requirements really is the heart and soul of the land, requirements that the land uses must adhere to. They are the actual legal requirements that have to be met. The rest are recommendation, comments, background, support for that. The exhibits include the Coxfield subzones by themselves. The second one in the report includes the subzones with aerial photography. And there's a zoning graphic there which we can display. And that shows the existing zoning on the subject property, the different colors, and in the legend, and in black and white shows the 5 subzones. You see a white area around the southeast and around the east portion. That shows the various subzones, but those are outside the corporate limits. And in Texas, as well as a couple of other states in the union, unless there's unusual circumstance, typically with the federal government, you can't zone property outside the corporate limits. The appendix shows the development map of the Coxfield master plan, obviously directly related to what we're trying to do, in addition to a number of recommendations and specific Federal Aviation Administrative requirements. So this is not like some multiple family or single family or industrial commercial development where we would have, if you will, absolute authority over that. The FAA has substantial involvement over air areas in the
Can I ask you a question, please?
Of course, yes, sir.
What the plan that you have brought today, is it approved by FAA yet or not?
Well, no, they do not have legal authority to do it, but they'd like to see it.
Okay. Is it subject to their approval or not?
No.
So what we do today is final? They have no control over what we do?
They don't have any control over the zoning, Dr. Hashmi, but they have requirements that have to be met regardless of what the land use is.
Okay. And the second question is, by adopting this ordinance or this, whatever you're wanting us to do, we are not selling city property?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Those are my comments, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Before I do that, however, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Lancaster. I think she may have some comments. She had a major role in orchestrating much of this, and then I'll be pleased to answer any questions or address any comments you might have.
I don't have a lot to say. I think this was well looked at, well planned, thought out. There was a lot of effort to make sure we accommodated anything that could possibly come up. Certainly think it's a big move forward for our Cox Field, and I am very pleased and hope this will progress quickly.
Thank you, Ms. Lancaster. I'll be pleased to answer any questions. Yes, Dr. Gross.
I have a question. On the map that was provided, the one map that was provided to us, all the areas in pink or shades of pink, they are currently in city limits?
Yes, sir.
There's no outside city limit property that's...
If they are, it's just a spillover. What you're looking at, sir, is the graphic representation of the legal description. We cannot, that was put in there to make a visual representation of the text of the legal description. That's the whole purpose of that. That's why it's different than these maps.
Okay. So it is, we're not telling property owners necessarily what they can do or not do currently, if they're grandfathered in under certain rights of ownership now or not.
Yes, sir. There's a whole section in here, and what you're referring to is a legal non-conforming use. It is pretty standard language across the country, which in effect states this: if you are continuing to operate a legal use, you can continue to operate it in perpetuity. There's even sections that talk about expansion, non-use, legal non-conforming uses off the property, etc. It's a little bit more expansive because we're dealing with safety issues here, but the fundamental principles and purposes of the non-conforming use section in here is essentially what you'll find across the country.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions before we open the public hearing? Alan, I do have a quick question. A4.
Yes, sir.
That is all within the city limits of Paris, or it is not?
No, let me refresh.
It is all outside.
It is all outside?
Yeah, it's outside. A4 is all outside, as is partially A5 and A2.
So why is it in the plan?
I'm sorry?
I'm missing something, obviously. What's the...
Why we did it?
The necessity of having it in there?
Okay. In terms of city planning principles, the city has already indicated that it wants to grow and develop, and it has legal rights in terms of additional annexation. The staff looked at that, and we felt that take a look at what would be the most appropriate planning to achieve economic development and physical development in and around the airport over the next 20 to 50 years. And we took into consideration the fact that parallel or incrementally with those development proposals, the city will annex those properties. So we didn't want to plan in a void. We know that's not in the city, but as the city grows and develops and annexes, which it has a legal right to do incrementally over a period of years, that we wanted to plan and optimize the land uses around the airport. And also to protect the land uses. As soon as we annex those properties, our idea is to go ahead and zone it this way, so we will protect the opportunities around the airport and for economic development. That's what.
But to be clear, you're not suggesting that?
Yes, we're suggesting that.
You're suggesting the annexation?
We're suggesting that as the city annexes this property, that we go ahead and plan it that way.
John?
That sounds a lot more ominous than it probably should have. In case it sounds like Alan's wanting to annex next Thursday, we're talking about 10 or 20 or 30 or 100 years from now, one of these days, if ever. So when he says we have a right to and we may want to, depends on what the airport does. If the airport grows like crazy, then we would. If the airport does not grow like crazy, we never ever will. We couldn't serve it. There would be no purpose to it. It'd be hard to justify it even being legal. So everything he's saying is exactly right. I just want to clarify, and I don't mean to disagree with you, Alan, because what you're saying is exactly right. But timelines are huge here, especially if it's your property.
Well, and that's,
and so I don't want to inadvertently scare somebody. If that's a big, successful airport with industrial uses and light industrial uses and warehouse uses, then yeah, you want to control what happens on the neighbor's property. But there is no reason ever, not ever, there's no reason for the foreseeable future that we've even talked about annexing that, hopefully after tonight anyway. So just to clarify that, tone that down a lot, because what he said was, it scared me when he said that.
Yeah, I just want to be clear on the timeline.
No, I'm just talking about the planning and zoning principles associated with why we chose the property.
Not in my lifetime or Alan's lifetime. So
probably not in my lifetime.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions, or we'll?
Since you're just now 40, it might be in your lifetime.
I don't know. The way these meetings are going, I'm not real sure. But, okay, thanks, Alan. We'll open up the public hearing.
Thank you very much.
At that point, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for this item, please come forward this time.
My name is Jack Ashmore, and I am the chairman of this appointed committee, which is made up of the city council members, PEDC, and the Airport Advisory Board. We came about for a reason. Somebody came up and said, we need to peddle this airport, if you will. We want to sell it. In order to sell it, you have to have something to attract people. If, for example, I'd like to be able to, PEDC came in and said, oh, there's a guy comes in here and he wants to build a warehousing facility that he's going to fly parts in and out or whatever at the airport. We already have it zoned. He doesn't have to go through months and months of let's worry about, can I do this? It's there. PEDC or the city or whoever is selling this thing and say, here it is. If you want to build a building, right here in zone A, B, C, where we've got it marked, this is legal. The reason we have to do that is, he alluded to it, FAA is very particular about what is built around their airports. I just came back yesterday from San Diego. And if you go to San Diego, California, the federal government said you cannot build a building in San Diego taller than 500 feet. I don't care who you are. That's a restriction. They should have made it 400 feet because it scares you to death if you ever go in there in a jet. You really come over close to the top of it. But that was the reason for it. We wanted it as a marketing tool. We're trying to market the airport. Anything that'll help us do it, we already have it planned. This is what we have for you. Come in here, we'll take it tomorrow. And it just expedites things, if you will. This committee has been through many meetings over this zoning thing, and you can't believe the arguments and whys and wherefores that we came up. Well, why can't we build a hotel here? They have a hotel over Dallas. Well, we're not in Dallas, you know. So anyway, I highly recommend that you give favorable consideration to this. I think it'll be a great marketing tool, and I think everybody in PEDC would like to see this too. Thank you very much. Oh,
thank you.
Happy birthday, Mr. Mayor. We have the same birth date. Mine happens to be a few years before yours.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for this item? If not, anyone wishing to speak against this item, please come forward. If not, we'll close the public hearing. And any further discussion from the council?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve from Dr. Hashmi. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Plata. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. And Ms. Lancaster, thank you for all your work on this. I know you went to many meetings, so thank you. Item number 20.
Receive project update, discuss and act on a resolution closing out the contract, approving change order number 1, decreasing the contract amount by $20,308.33, and authorizing final payment in an amount up to $131,270.12 to McInnes Brothers Construction, Inc. for Phase 1 of the TWDB water line replacement project.
Mr. Napier.
I
Good evening, Mayor
make a
and Council.
motion to untable the item.
Has it been tabled? It has been tabled.
Mhm.
Okay, motion from, thank you, Dr. Oshby. Motion from Dr. Oshby, second from Ms. Lancaster. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, Mr. Napier.
Thank you, Dr. Oshby. This particular item and the next one as well will actually look to close out two different contracts we have. We received the Texas Water Development Board loan, as you know, approved that in a total of $2.9 million. These two projects alone replaced, I think there's about, exactly how many waterline projects there's 6 on the phase 2 and 6 on phase 1 as well. So those projects have been done and completed. As you are well aware, we had many issues with the first phase with McInnes Brothers, and as you can tell, both projects we're not closing this out until actually phase 2 has been completed as well. And the main reason you have this before you tonight is Texas Water Development Board has been kind of pushing us along to close out these contracts, and we're actually looking at possibility of doing a phase 3, but we have a little over $400,000 left, and we have 4 other waterline projects that we're looking at trying to get done. So we're trying to put that in with those as well. Plus, as part of the issues we had with the first phase, which is Adam we're talking about tonight, was trying to close or kill out the old 20-inch cast iron line in 3rd Street. And what we're going to look at doing is putting inside this phase 3 contract a possibility of doing what they call line stopples. They go in and actually cut in a stopple area to help us narrow down the area where we're trying to get water to help us locate that section of line where we're getting water back in to kill that out. So we're trying, and that's one of the main reasons that you see this first contract has been deducted to that much. That a lot of that work was taken out of that contract because it was not an easy solution to try to find out how to take a old 20-inch cast iron service line out of service. The regional contract amount, as you see there, is on your form. Was it $1.8 million? What we're asking is to approve the change order number 1, which is the deduction, and the final payment amount of $131,000, or $131,270.12 to McInnes Brothers for this particular item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Mr. Napier?
I do have a question. The old cast iron pipe, isn't there a new system where you can put a PVC pipe inside of the cast iron pipe?
You can, yes. There is a system where you can sleeve an old pipe. It's more done with sewer than water, but it can be done, it's, I think, equally with both.
Is it cheaper to do that? Will it be?
Well, we're trying to take we have a new 20-inch in service, and we don't need 2 lines there. Reason being is what you kind of find out is you've got double the amount of water you actually need, and in our system, if that water doesn't get used, you lose your chlorination, and therefore your water can go stagnant, which is not a good thing. We're not having that problem, but we don't want to see that problem in the future.
Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Napier? No?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, motion by Dr. Oshby. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Plato. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 21, Ms. Ellis.
Steve, project update, discuss and act on a resolution closing out the contract, approving change order number 1, decreasing the contract amount by $2,114, and authorizing final payment in the amount of $35,271.07 to B-Bray Construction for Phase 2 of the TWDB waterline replacement project.
Sure, make this short, kind of discuss that in the first phase. Phase 2 went much more smoothly than the original one. You're aware when you have a local contractor too, they're more conscientious of what's going on as well. You know, and Barney and his guys kind of take pride in this is Paris, we're going to do things right, which we definitely appreciate, and we're glad to have them as our contractor on this phase. So with that, I would recommend closing the contract out, approving the change order and final payment to Mr. Bray.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Napier?
I'll make the motion.
Motion from
To
Dr.
approve.
Oshby to approve. Is there a second? Second. Second, Mr. Plata. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 22.
Discuss and act on a resolution requesting TxDOT to proceed with plans to close the crossover located in 5000 block of Southeast Loop 286 and install a turnaround lane for the southbound traffic approximately 550 feet south of the current crossover.
Chief Tuttle?
Mayor and members of the council, this item was brought before council back in October 2012, I believe. That time, council asked that TxDOT study this, and what we're bringing back tonight is the TxDOT proposal from that study, and which is to close this crossover and place a turnaround for the southbound traffic about 550 feet south of the current crossover. So,
okay.
If you have any questions or anything, I can answer.
Is there already a crossover 500 feet down already going into Morningside?
There's one at Dawn Drive. It's on farther down.
Oh, it's farther down.
This crossover would be, I think, somewhere about 250, 300 feet north of that current crossover on Dawn Drive.
Okay.
I'd like to say something, but I'd say it after Mr. Shank has said it because it's in my district and I've heard a lot of complaints about it. So, but I'd let Mr. Shank say whatever he wants to say first.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Again, Mayor and City Council, my name is Larry Shank. I apologize for the rasp in my voice because I have a cold, but I am concerned about this proposal from a couple of aspects. In deference to your question, Councilmember Pickle, I was concerned initially that the turnaround was going to be located at the Dawn Drive entrance, which in my view would have been a disaster for our subdivision because I live in Morningside. And I don't know about the traffic patterns that go in and out of that subdivision at that location. I was pleased, Assistant Chief Tuttle was very generous in forwarding to me a copy of a detailed drawing of the proposal that I have with me today that showed that, in fact, the turnaround would be short of the Dawn Drive location. And as a result, I think that's a much better proposal than taking it down to Dawn Drive. I mean, from a very selfish perspective, I realize that that's a nightmare in some instances, especially when the church lets out at that particular crossover. From a selfish perspective, I just as soon not do anything with it. But if the proposal is going to be to do a crossover, then I think the arrangement that's been presented that would not involve Dawn Drive is a better one than sending it to Dawn Drive. And Chief Tuttle assures me it really never was an option to send it to Dawn Drive. But I would recommend a couple of things. First, I would recommend that this particular drawing be included in the ordinance as an exhibit so that it would accurately reflect what the intention of council is, because the one that I got out of the, at least the posted agenda package, was very difficult to read. Secondly, I would ask that the council consider asking TxDOT. An anecdote here. When you retire, as I did, from the big city of the South, known as Houston, and come back to continue to live in Paris, you realize for the first time that all of your neighbors, even though you're retirement age, are older than you are. And that's a scary proposition, okay, with certain exceptions. John Kuderan is in the back, so I won't include him in that list. But as a result, I'm very concerned about my neighbors who are even more elderly than I in terms of their exiting our subdivision and entering our subdivision. There still will be an impact on our subdivision with this proposal. If you will look at the exhibit, even though the turnaround will not be down at Dawn Drive, which is an actual entrance and exit, major entrance and exit to the subdivision, there is one other exit on Lee Drive from the subdivision. And that's further down, it's more or less in the center. And I have this exhibit, I don't know what y'all's looks like, so I don't know how clear it is. But the difference will be to those people who exit from Lee Drive that all of the traffic that now turns around further up the highway will now be turning around down and past the Lee Drive exit from the subdivision. Now, as far as I know, that exit is not used certainly to the degree that Dawn Drive is, because it's not really an entrance as much as it is an exit. But I would suggest that perhaps, since TxDOT is so liberal in using the median anyway to create this turnaround, that an additional portion of the median on the opposite side be used for an entry lane, so that people turning out of Lee Drive will be able to deal with the traffic that is in the turnaround as well as the traffic that's coming up the highway. Right now, they have to gauge their turn based on the traffic that's coming up the highway. They will now have to gauge their turn based on that traffic as well as the additional traffic coming from the turnaround. And, you know, like I say, I'm no spring chicken, but, you know, one of my neighbors did not come with me tonight, and he's 88, and it scares me a little if he goes out that direction. Secondly, so I would ask that the proposal be presented to TxDOT with that change. The second change I would ask for is, in my opinion, of the two, even more important. I would ask that all the way down to the entry point underneath what I call the spider down there where all the different streets are, that the speed limit be changed or dropped from 60 miles an hour to something much more reasonable, say 55 or 50, so that you do not have all of these confluence of entering traffics affected. If you go up the hill, the speed limit drops from 60 to 55 up on that bridge. So it would seem to be a no-brainer to move the speed limit down to 55 at least from that portion of the highway, from the 60, you know, that it currently is. I would prefer something even lower than that. But those are my suggestions with regard to this proposal. I am pleased that it does not engage or involve the actual use of Dawn Drive as the turnaround. I'm pleased at the work that someone has done to try to deal with this issue with TxDOT, because I concede it is a problem, but I think the proposal can still be improved, and especially the speed limit issue. If it's going to be 55 at the top of that hill, I don't see why it can't be 55 further back, and I think that would help people entering off of Lee Drive. I probably exceeded my welcome. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and wish you all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hoshmi, did you have?
Actually, he said most of what I was going to say, so I don't have anything else to add. But I'd favor what he's saying.
I have a question. Is this allowing for traffic on the loop from both directions to turn, or is it just this for the southbound traffic to make a U-turn?
Yeah, southbound traffic.
But northbound traffic will not be able to enter into it by
No.
accident?
Northbound, if you remember, under the loop, the overpass, there's a turnaround for northbound traffic. If they want to go back south, there's one under the loop. But no, this is just for southbound traffic to do that turnaround to go back north.
Instead of having two turnarounds there in front of Paris News and Dawn Drive, there will be one turnaround in front of Dawn Drive.
In the middle of it.
Midway.
Well,
Well, that's actually, Dawn,
No.
that's actually a crossover where they can just cross instead of
Dawn
just
is the cross.
a turnaround. It's a little distance.
How feasible
Crossover
is
is what
the
I
speed
mean.
limit issue?
Crossover is what I.
TxDOT, and I don't know for sure, but usually when they do these studies, they look at the speed limit also. I'd have to talk to TxDOT about that a little bit further.
Their lane is
I just wasn't aware if that's something that the traffic commission had anything to do with recommendation
Again,
wise, or if that's
it's a
just a
TxDOT
TxDOT
issue.
issue.
It's
Yeah,
a TxDOT
they have
issue.
pretty specific rules. They have 12 what they call traffic warrants, and for certain kinds of things, and they'll do a warrant study for speed. And unfortunately, that's usually higher than what you expect, because one of their deals is that they make the speed limit whatever 85% of traffic is already going. So if everybody's going too fast, then they decide that's what it should be. So
Does it count the number of times you drive?
No.
In the
it's based-
85%, so.
Well, they have to, yeah, so if you know they're going to do it, then the thing is to get thousands of people to go really slow, and they'll reduce the speed limit. But yeah, but it could be, anyway,
Versus you going 100
it's something you can ask. You know, we asked for a speed warrant done on a road recently, and they actually said, well, it should be raised instead of lowered, so, no, they didn't, thank goodness, but yeah, that's, anyway, bottom line, it can be done, we can ask, they can ask, Randy can ask.
You can ask, but there's not necessarily a guarantee that we
Yeah, there's no
can
guarantee.
stipulate, right? Okay. Any further discussion from the council? No? If not, is there a motion to be made on this item?
If it's a motion item, I'll make the motion that we adopt what Mr. Shank is saying, at least to go back to TxDOT and ask for it. Whether it gets approved or not is a second issue.
Okay, clarify that for me, Dr. Hoshmi, exactly what you're saying, so.
Okay. What my motion is that we accept as drawn with the additional fact that we should recommend to TxDOT that to create an additional lane from where Lee Drive comes out, correct? And there was a second portion of it, and that was
limit.
possibility of reducing the speed limit. I may be the first one getting a speeding ticket, but
Janice, did you
Probably
get that? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Mr. Plata. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shank. Appreciate that. Item 23, Ms. Ellis.
Discuss and act on amendments to the Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook.
can I make a suggestion? They've been waiting here forever. Can we move them up and do this later, this item? They're waiting for the executive session, isn't it?
That's fine with me.
I'm here either way.
Okay.
I
So we need-
make a motion to move item 26 up.
Okay. Have a motion, Dr. Oshmi. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Pickle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Nosy stuff.
Okay, folks, sorry about that. Just a couple of housekeeping items real quick, and I do apologize. We did convene into executive session at 7:13, and when we did move item 26 up, I did not ask Ms. Ellis to read those specific items, so we did call the number, but Janice, would
Okay,
you
and I'll
please
read those items, and then will you state the time right now, ma'am?
What time is it? It is now 7:48.
Okay. We convened into executive session pursuant to Section 551071 of the Texas Government Code. Consultation with attorney to receive legal advice from the city attorney about pending and contemplating litigation and/or all matters in which the duty of an attorney to his client under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with this chapter as follows. Paris Warehouse 107 Inc. Tax Abatement Agreement. And Section 551087 of the Texas Government Code. 1, to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the government body has received from a business prospect if the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect described by subdivision 1.
Okay, so now I'm back in open session?
Yes, sir.
You're good enough? Okay. Which brings to item 27.
We're up to 23. We're
Oh,
going
I'm
back
sorry,
to
yeah.
23.
Well, we need to work
Finish
on
it out.
27,
Finish
yeah.
it out.
So, back in open session on 27, as far as that goes, is there any action to be taken?
Yes,
On those
I think
items?
on item 1,
Yes. Is there a motion to be made at this point, or?
I think you have to explain what it is.
Okay, we discussed the incentive agreement with Paris Warehouse 107. The abatement committee has been discussing this compliance issue for a period of weeks now, and it's been determined that for 1 year out of that agreement, the incentive fell slightly short, but short nonetheless, in terms of number of jobs created.
Correct.
Fairly well stated there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and at this point, it is up to the council to direct the city manager or city attorney if there's any action we choose to take with regards to this non-compliance issue. So, anyway, Dr. Hoshmi?
Yeah. The concern was that the incentive agreement required certain number of jobs. They were not met in 1 year. This council could have gone and asked for 7 years of return of the tax abatement. It was the attorney's advice that, as done in other cities, that they don't like to penalize, and we certainly don't want to look business unfriendly here. So that for the year that they were not in compliance with the number of jobs, that they be fined for that year rather than go back on the full.
Not fined, just have.
I'm sorry, not fined. Pay back what they were supposed to, or what they were given or owed back. So that was your advice, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
And so, in keeping in line with us not wanting to look business unfriendly, I'd like to make a motion that, as the attorney has directed, that they return the money for that 1 year, and we ignore the 7 years otherwise. Is
Okay.
that
The previous years.
the previous
Yeah,
6
previous
years
Okay.
out of that contract?
And does that form come with a demand letter from one of the two of you, or?
Right. We'll just, yeah, we'll carry forward council's desire to collect the back taxes on 2012.
Okay, so the
Correct.
motion from Dr. Hashmi. Is there a second? Second from Ms. Lancaster. Any further discussion with the council? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. And I think that closes out the executive session item. So we're back to item 23. Yeah.
Discuss and act on amendments to the Personnel Policies and Procedures Handbook.
Okay, we have two changes, which are really just clarifications, and one new policy. The one new policy has to do with weapons in the workplace, and consistent with most everybody, this policy would make it to where we would not allow employees to have guns in the workplace, or clubs, or explosives, or knives of 5.5 inches or longer.
Mr. Huntley, too bad.
That's blade.
Okay.
And then the two clarifications, one is the drug policy, and I don't know as much about drugs as probably some of these other guys do, but when you test between 0.02 and 0.04, it's kind of a no result sort of thing. And so you have 24 hours where you retest. Well, the way this policy is written out implies that you're supposed to get paid while you're home studying for your second drug test, and we want that to be without pay. So there's just part of a word in there. And then the third one is the attendance holiday. You get attendance for not using a bunch of sick days, and if you get in trouble for flunking your drug test and you get a day off with pay, that's not the same thing as sick, and so you should not lose your attendance day. So that's just a clarification too. On both of those, it's clarification of what we're already doing. Or should be doing, and then the other one's an entire new policy. So I think those are pretty simple, I hope.
There is a problem with it. Let me ask you, supposing the person's first test turns out positive and it was a false positive and a little high, so now you force the person to be off without a day's pay. So there should be a clarification that if his test really turns out negative, then he will be paid for the day that you forced him off work.
That's a reasonable change, obviously.
Any other questions?
Because you do get false positives.
Yes.
Yeah, a few months ago they told me I was dying, and it turned out I wasn't even sick. So
You look pretty lively.
Wow.
So it definitely
Split
happens.
samples. They do split samples on those
They do
drug
split
tests.
samples on the drug
That's
tests.
why they do those split samples. If they get a false positive, then they take the other sample and test it.
Test it, yeah.
See how it plays out.
But we could, I mean, certainly you don't want to. If somebody's innocent, you don't want to take a day's pay away from them.
Well, that's
obviously.
exactly
we'll
what
fix
I'm
that.
saying.
So I just recommend approval with that clarification.
Ms. Lancaster, you had a question?
On the weapons that you are prohibiting, are you including tasers?
We are not specifically naming those.
Well, I sure knock you out.
Employees are prohibited from carrying a weapon while on duty or in city-related business. So this is not meant to be an all-inclusive list. We could add it certainly just to make sure, because people do have those now.
They do.
I have recently learned. Prohibited weapons. So we'll just add that to the list. Sure.
Okay. Anybody else? Discussion? All right. Is there a motion to be made on this item?
I'll make the motion.
What's that?
He'll make the motion.
Make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
With the changes included?
With the changes included, yes.
Okay, Mr. Pickle.
I second it.
Okay, second from Dr. Hashmi. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Don't know if we need to give you a test. That's all right. Item 24, Ms. Ellis.
Discuss stormwater utility and provide direction to staff.
This is a topic you've talked about a couple times before. In fact, at my very first council meeting in town 2.5 years ago, this was on your agenda. It was presented by an engineer at that time, and part of that was because you do have to have a study done of actual drainage facilities and a plan of work, which would be adopted on an annual basis. But not to get into all of that now. But this is a funding source that's available to Texas municipalities. I'm not necessarily ranking for it or against it. It's just something that I think is worth talking about. And I don't know if you want to talk about it a long time at 8 o'clock at night or not, but it's something that you can do. And it's to pay, to help pay for drainage, pure and simple. And if it's collected on a monthly basis. The fairest way to do it, because it's based on how much you contribute to the water system is based on a per square foot of impervious surface. For example, if you've got a 10,000 square foot warehouse and a 10,000 square foot parking lot, then that's 20,000 square feet. You'll be charged per square foot. If you've got on the, it doesn't matter how many acres you have, it's how many impervious square feet. Impervious meaning water can't go through it, so it runs off somewhere, and the city has to take care of it, or your neighbors have to take care of it, or anyway it runs off. That's difficult to do with residential properties. It's true that a larger house, doesn't matter about the value of it, but a larger house is going to generate more, and with more driveways and porches and sidewalks and all that stuff will generate more runoff than a house that doesn't have that. But usually that kind of data is not available where you can assess per square foot. So most cities on residential assess per unit, and on a non-residential, where you do have that kind of information, they do it per square foot. The numbers, and I should have taken those numbers out because they're scary numbers on here. This was just an example of an ordinance we did many years ago, another job I worked in. Those numbers are a lot higher because of the size of that town. They only had, when I first went there, 2,000 units, and we had no commercial when I first went through and we wrote the ordinance. So it generated a few $1,000s a year even at this rate. So that's why they were so high originally. Much more reasonable fee, I think, would have to be implemented here. And again, you may not want to do it. It's just something that I have an obligation, I think, to let you know about. Drainage is one of our biggest problems. It's a constantly recurring problem, and every year we get further and further behind. And again, as I tried to clarify in the memo, there's two parts to that. One is just the maintenance, the mowing and the cleaning and the cutting and all that stuff that we're trying to get on. But the other is the capital infrastructure. Last summer, I gave you a copy of the capital improvements plan. It had about $7 million worth of capital improvements to drainage. That's not counting mowing grass and cutting weeds and stuff like that. That means actually building or rebuilding or repairing existing facilities. And the only way you're going to come up with that kind of money is through some kind of earmarked fund like this, or through bonds or something like that, because it's just such a large number. And of course, every year that goes by, they get worse and worse and worse. So anyway, with that, I'll be quiet. Now, I don't know if it's something y'all want to talk about or consider now or next year or one of these days or whatever.
Anyone on the council?
I want to make the comment that I think Mr. Banks is right when he spoke about it, that it would be unfair to have the same fee for a 90-year-old little old lady who lives in a tiny home compared to somebody who has a bigger house. So I think if there needs to, if we can make a system of some sort of correction of that, it would be a preferable way rather than slap everyone with one amount. And I don't know how you do it.
There may be a way. I mean, obviously you could go out and measure everybody's property. That's not practical. There may be a way you could at least classify larger houses. And again, it's going to be the size of the house, not the property. So if you've got a little house on a 10-acre property, that doesn't count.
But could it be based on property taxes?
Well, taxes, that's just based on value, though. And under the state law, you can't base this on value. It's got to be based on what you expect it to generate as far as runoff of water. And that's going to be based on the size of the developed property. That's why vacant lots don't get assessed, for example. Pastures don't get assessed because they don't generate water runoff other than what nature provides. Nature's already doing to it. So we could look at that. I mean, if y'all want to pursue the idea, that's certainly we can look at how to kind of spread those residential units out.
Well, I've got a concern that's just the opposite, in that in my district there's an area that needs lots of work. But we've approved a $35 million $45 million bond project that most of that we're seeing very little of that money in my district. And if I think, speaking for the people in my district, the fear is that if we're putting that money into this utility fund, then we're not going to reap the benefits from it. And if there's a way to say, okay, look, you've got this project here that's a $1 million deal, and that this district will pay their part, and then when it's done, move on.
Yeah, there's the two biggest drawbacks to a stormwater utility are obvious. One is you're charging people for stuff, and people don't like to have to pay more than what they're paying right now. Some of us don't like to pay what we are paying already. So it's a new fee, new tax, new whatever you want to call it. You're taking money from people. The other downside is, although you can kind of come close to basing how much you pay on how much you contribute, as far as the more water runoff you generate, the more you pay. Benefit is not going to always be the same, because if you live in an area that doesn't have any drainage problems, you're going to pay to go help in a neighborhood that doesn't have, or that does have those problems. So you're moving money around for that reason. So those are the two drawbacks to stormwater utilities, and I'm not going to try to convince you that they're not real.
Right.
If you do this, you'll make some people mad at you, and especially if you pay for 9 years and all of your money goes to, you know, a mile down the road, you're going to think, well, gee, this is even worse than I thought. They're taking my money and giving it to, you know, old lady Johnson down there, and I'm sorry she's got a drainage problem, but why am I having to pay for it? So those are the two obvious drawbacks. Not trying to talk you out of it either. Now, another way you can approach this problem of drainage, kind of like what you're talking about, is what's called a PID, or a public improvement district. In that case, you can actually have property owners petition a municipality and say, we want you to build a new sidewalk, a new road, a new fence, put in street lights, fix the drainage here, and there's a specific assessment. And that assessment shows up on your tax bill once a year, as opposed to like this utility that shows up on your water bill once a month. And it has to, 100% of that money, other than a little bit for administration, for Gene to write the checks and so forth, has to stay in that district where it's collected. It has to be used for that purpose, and then once that's paid off, the assessment goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another option. We could talk about it some other time too, you know, for drainage or for other things. A lot of cities do that, especially a lot of the fast-growing suburbs will do that. For, you know, the developer comes in, he doesn't put sidewalks in, they want sidewalks. They'll come back and they'll pay, you know, $40 a year for 10 years for sidewalks. Of course, this would be a lot more than that. But that way you're more likely to pay only for your neighborhood project with the PID.
What's the percentage of people in that district that has to?
You would set that by ordinance. It's typically like 80-85%. It's really high. And there's some things in state law that has to be, depends on the type of project, but it's either a certain percentage of the property owners or a certain percentage of the land. But you can set, and I would recommend you set even higher standards. Places where I've done PIDs before, 2 other cities we've done that, our standards were usually 80 or 85%. So it was almost everybody had to get together. You didn't make it 100% because you might have one old sorehead that would say, well, I don't care, you know, even though all my neighbors want to do this, I'm going to veto it. So you don't want to be able to do that, but you want it really high. You want it 80, 85%, I think. But you would set that by policy, by ordinance.
To Edwin's comment, a lot of that money is not coming in my district either.
I know.
But the thing about it is that the purpose is improvement of the city as a whole, not just pick out.
I understand that.
You know.
I'm relaying some of the concerns from people in my district and in your district.
Edwin,
Yes, sir.
quite a lot of work has been done in your area in past years that was not done in our area.
And I think, Edwin, the one thing, this was the project that was big.
I'm just,
No, let me
he
just.
gave me a good idea of something that I think that my district would be happy to consider.
But projects which were discussed and decided were based on their priority. They were not based on, you know, that this district should be eliminated or not eliminated.
I'm not saying that. That's not what I said.
But some of the people on those lists, they've been number one in priority.
Years and years and
For
years.
years
But,
and years
I
and
mean,
years,
we were
and
not the
nothing's
ones who
happened.
decided,
Nobody's
that
helped.
was decided by the engineering firm who came, and they said that these are the areas which we want you to do first. You were part of that discussion and you voted for it.
Yeah, no, but
That's true, but
I'm saying like a drainage issue like such as Mr. Nash has, he's been at the top of that list and no action's been taken, and he's got
And this is a
raw
way for us
sewage.
to fund that
And so
without,
it's an issue.
because we want it, but your district might not want it, and that's fine. Let us pay for it.
Well, it seems like there are some workarounds there. To kind of gauge we recognize this is a really palatable, intangible problem. Would you guys like to see Mr. Governor come back with a more formalized plan as far as something else? Or, I mean, I know this was just first blush, is that about right?
Well, it's just something, you know, I can provide you more detail if you're genuinely interested in pursuing it. If you're not, I mean, by giving you more detail, it's not going to make your mind up one way or another. I mean, you can charge 9 cents a month, you can charge $14 a month.
I think if we can see options of what options exist and pick out the option that suits best.
Okay.
Can you give us a tally of, under your land use descriptions, say, set it at $1 a month instead of $6 a month, or set it at 50 cents, and just see kind of revenues, what kind of revenues would be generated at different levels of,
in this
tax.
PID, whatever PID. Is it a one time a year, or could it be done on a monthly basis?
No, it's an assessment as opposed to a utility, so it's once a year, and the reason for that is that it's a lienable debt, because the city actually incurs debt on instruction from its residents.
Okay.
We want you to go borrow money for us. Basically, we end up becoming their bankers. And so we borrow money and we pay it back, but we can't pay it back unless they pay us.
Okay. Thank you.
If you want, I can bring you some. I mean, we're just looking for possible solutions. I can bring you back in more information about PIDs as well. So
yes, please.
Okay.
I know from my standpoint, PIDs would be more along lines of what needs to be pursued than just charging a monthly rate, because believe it or not, people are having a hard time, having a tougher time, especially in those sides. You guys living over here on east and west, there are differences. And there's a lot of differences, and even $1 or $2, it's going to hurt. And you some of you say you understand, but you really don't.
Well, I think that's the important part, to have this discussion, because it does represent the whole town. And your point is well taken, and Edwin, yours too. It's just some of the differences in the community. So yeah, John, that'd be great if there's.
Okay. We'll get more information.
Okay, great. Ready to move on to the next item?
Another fun topic. This is one, again, I'm not necessarily giving you a recommendation one way or another on it. It's something that's available to you. As you know, we do have problems with drainage. You did adopt a master parks plan a little over a year ago, that calls for spending some money to update and improve existing parks. And then also, we have street problems. And we have around $5 million that we could probably sell next year, or in 2016, or whenever. It's not something that's got to be done right away unless you wanted to sell it really quickly. And the reason to put it on the agenda is just that we talked about it a little bit when we talked about the budget. And kind of like the stormwater utility, just want to let you know this was an option. Again, just to clarify, because of the fact that some old debt has been retired and our debt service has gone down, we could do some portion, and I would recommend to you that if you decide to do it at all, you do it for whatever that number is, whether it's 3.9 or 5.1 or whatever it is, that the existing tax rate would cover it. If you decide to do that, then the two questions become, how soon do you want to do it? Do you want to do it in 15, or do you want to do it in 16, do you want to do it in 17? And then the other question is, of course, do you want to sell GOs or do you want to sell COs? You can legally do either one, just like we talked about 2 years ago, year and a half ago. COs you can approve by council action. GOs require a vote, and the vote's a little more cumbersome. Depending on when you do it, you have to do it during a general election date, which is May or November. If you want to do it next May, for example, you need to act pretty quickly. You need to tell us, get on it, because the election gets called in February.
Yes.
If you're to do it in February, or do it in May. If you wanted to do it at the next date, that would be November of 2015. The only downside of that is there's no other local election, and that's not a presidential election year. You might not have but 7 people show up to vote. So anyway, those are just your options. And again, I'm not here to convince you one way or another. I feel like I have an obligation to let you know that you have this as an available tool to address roads and or parks and or drainage. And my suggestion that most of it be roads, but you put aside some for parks and drainage is just to just my opinion, and you know, you can put it all in drainage or all in streets or do none of it at all. And that's again, just looking for direction from you.
Okay.
Are the bond rates still fairly low in terms of
They are.
borrowing this money?
Interest rates are low. In fact, Gene and I were talking about just today, there's no expectation they're gonna go up anytime soon. So as far as interest rates, it's not like we better hurry up and take advantage of low interest rates. They're gonna stay low probably for a long time. Waiting a year or 6 months is probably not gonna make any difference. It's just a matter of, you know, when you wanna do that. Another consideration is, do you wanna wait until, for example, if you're gonna do streets, do you wanna wait until most of the utility work is done? Because in these next two projects, the last project we did was almost all non-residential streets. Well, these next $30 million, $25 million is going to get spent on a lot of residential streets. You're going to dig up a lot of streets and disturb a lot of people. You know, and that's inconvenient to people. No matter how well you do it, it's still inconvenient. It's frustrating to people. So it's another reason to maybe wait. Although I don't want to talk you out of it, because I'd sure love to spend $4 million on streets around here. You know, there's pros and cons, and I don't envy you your jobs because you have to make those decisions. But sorry.
Okay. Anybody have any comments at this point or questions, John?
When we were talking about water rates, that the water rates need to be raised because to keep in line with our bond rating, did we not realize at that point that we were going to be less obligated with bonds, so we probably should not raise the water rates?
Well, the water rates were raised because we had by contract to reduce water rates for our wholesale customers. And that's what ultimately got us in that bind, because we have multi-year agreements with some of the large wholesalers, and we had to reduce their rates. And if we did not increase the other rates, then we would lose money.
But we discussed about the fact that our bond rating did not need to go bad, didn't we, Mr. Anderson?
Well, if we're operating at a default, I mean, if we're spending $5 million a year and only generating $4.5 million a year in revenue, then that will affect our bond, our fund balance, and that will affect our bond rating. Yes.
What will also affect the bond rating is the fact that if you don't have that much obligation, if you don't owe that much money, will it not affect the bond rating?
Well, the utilities bonds and GOs and COs are not necessarily rated exactly the same way. Each bond issue is rated based on the merits of that and the financial and management condition of the city at the time. So, in other words,
I'm not opposed to fixing the streets. That's
yeah, no, I understand.
But that was one of the concerns that
I get it.
And the second thing that I would like to say is, if we are to do any, first of all, I think we should think it over. At 8 o'clock at night is not a good time.
I agree.
But the second thing I would say is that if we are going to do this, then we need to be very, very precise that this street will be done from this intersection to this intersection. This is going to be done. It should be completely black and white so that there is no ifs and buts about it. And number two, I think we should get quotations on those streets first before we start going for the bond money. We should find out how much it's going to cost first, and then say that, okay, this street will cost this much. We have an ability to do this right now. Do people want it done or not?
Yeah, and again, it's 8 o'clock at night, so I won't go into, but there are issues with that, but that we need to talk about it sometime, obviously. So, but yeah, this is again, both of these items are kind of on here just to get you to thinking, and we'll discuss them again when we have additional time and get more details.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on this? I mean, for me, I think again, just like the drainage issue, it's a severe problem that Dr. Hashmi, you and Dr. Grossnickel and I have talked about since we first came on the council, that we've kicked the can down the road long enough, and very fortunate to make some headway with the infrastructure project. But you know, if we are to hold true to our word, you know, that's certainly something that we need to pay close attention to and keep our eye on the ball. I mean, for me, if it's retiring debt and it doesn't negatively impact the community in terms of taxes and finances, then I certainly think it's something worth getting down to the brass tacks of and being proactive rather than reactive. So, anyone else?
I'm gathering you're not wanting to fast track this, though. Okay.
No.
So we got plenty of time.
I concur with what Mayor Frierson just said. I think it's an opportunity to raise a significant amount of money and apply it toward our problem areas without increasing our indebtedness. So it's worth strongly considering, I think.
Is this something that the council wishes to come back at the next meeting, or what kind of time frame? I think maybe what would help John to know kind of where we are in terms of making him or letting him be able to provide the detail that we would ask.
Yeah, I mean, is this something you want me to bring back to you pretty quickly, or do you want to just wait till we start working on the budget in June, or do you even know yet?
Well, I guess my question is you're only on a fast track if you want to get it on the ballot in May or November. Well, May.
Well, May.
And then the question is, what is the council's feeling about, do they want to go COs or do they want to go GOs?
Well, that's a legitimate question. I mean,
I'm asking the question.
Right.
I would say, I would like to discuss it. I would like to discuss it when we don't have a lot and we stay till 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So I'll try to find maybe an opportune agenda, in other words.
I would agree that I don't think we should put it on the back burner.
Right.
But I think in some reasonable meeting, we should have the options and we should be able to discuss it and see what is the best option.
That's what I need.
But I don't think it's something that you can say, okay, we'll discuss it next budget. You know, that's a long time.
That would be too long for me personally. I'd rather deal with it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So, okay. And with that, we move, I guess, back to jumping around back to item 28.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yes. Consider and approve future events for city council and our city staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081.
Okay. And just as a reminder, this is the only meeting this month, correct? Okay.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in case you wanted to show up, I don't think anybody else will be here. Any other items to consider? No? So item 29?
So moved after everybody has cake.
After everybody has cake. Second, Benny, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Remember, we're
Opposed?
supposed to